Hello everyone and welcome back. In this lesson, you are going to learn how to build a simple API using Django that will expose a list with all the products available in the database of a website which we're also going to create. As the title suggests, the lesson is divided in two parts. In this first part, we're going to set up our Django project with models and configuration files, making a short recap of how to properly use Django's standard views to show our products in a HTML template. In the second part of the lesson, we will then proceed to the creation of the API itself by creating the required API views and endpoints. Writing a simple API without Django REST framework support will help us find out how incredibly useful the package really is, understanding all the concepts explained so far in the course with a completely practical example. We will then be ready to start using Django REST framework in the next session. Let's get started. Okay, so here we are in Visual Studio Code, and as you can see, I'm currently within the same folder where I was developing the code for the previous lecture. And as you can see, I've created another folder called First API Django, where I'm now going to create a new Django project. Keep in mind, however, that this is not the only way clearly to develop with Django on Visual Studio Code. Most of the times, as we will see in the next sections, you might want to open only the single folder of your project. However, I believe that for this specific section of the course, this is a good way to go, also considering that we will have to tweak the settings a little bit, thus getting familiar with the editor. So I can now press the Ctrl-Shift-P key combination to get a drop-down menu with a list of all the available commands, and I can choose to use this virtual environment for the project by clicking on Python, select Interpreter. Of course, if for any reason this command is not on the top of the list, you can just look for it by typing its name. You see, I can now then select the command to activate the Python extension, getting of course a list with all the available virtual environments and interpreters. So I'm now going to choose the one that I've created, this one. It asks me to install a linter, but I can just skip it for now. One important thing to keep in mind is that if for any reason Visual Studio Code can't manage to find the virtual environment that you want to use, you can click on File, Preferences, Settings, then on Workspace Settings, and here you can look for VEnv. These two settings will pop up and you will be able to set the path to the folder where you've created the virtual environment that you want to use. But as you can see now, everything works just fine. And what I want to do instead is to install Django. So I'm going to click on Terminal, New Terminal, our virtual environment gets activated, and I can now run the instruction pip install Django, which is going to download and install within our environment the latest version of Django. And we also need to install Pillow, pip install Pillow, which as you probably know is used by Django to manage images. So let's install it. And I can now just create a requirements.txt file, making it easier for you to recreate the same environment, of course. So pip freeze requirements.txt. I'm now going to move within the First API Django folder, and I can now create the project with the usual commands. So Django admin start project, and I can just call it online store. We can now see, of course, that within the First API Django folder, a new Django project called online store has been created. We can now go ahead and run all the routine operation, let's call them. So first of all, Python manage.py migrate. Now Python manage.py create super user, and I can just call it admin. I can skip the email address. As you can read, I'm using a common password right now, but it's okay because we're developing. Remember that it's vital to use strong passwords in production. And the last thing that we can do before creating an app for our project is to set up Visual Studio Code to run the manage.py run server command. So I'm just going to the debug tab, and I can now click on the gear icon right here. I'm going to select Python, which is going to open this launch.json file. I can now scroll the file, until we find this specific JSON. And considering that Visual Studio Code is opened within the Web APIs folder, I have now to set the new location of the manage.py file. So I can add first API Django online store manage.py. So going back to the debug window, I can now click on the drop-down menu and select Python Django to have the manage.py run server command run every time I press this green triangle. And this is one of the reasons why I really enjoy writing Python web applications with Visual Studio Code. This feature really makes the development process much easier. And one last thing that you probably want to do if you're developing on Chrome, as we are, is to comment the no threading option right here, which otherwise might slow down the development server. So let's give it a try. A new terminal is run. And here it is, our development server is running as expected. So let's stop it for now, because of course, we now need to create a new application for our project. So I'm just going to move inside the first API online store folder, and I can now give it a command python manage.py start up, and we can maybe call it just products. We can now go ahead and install the new application from within the settings.py file. Of course, I'm just going to add products to the list of the installed applications. We're now finally ready to start creating the models for our application. So we're going to need two models, a product model and a manufacturer model. Class manufacturer models dot model, and the manufacturer model is going to have three fields: a name field, models dot char field with max length, we can pass maybe 120, then a location field, which is going to be the same basically as the name field, and then a boolean flag that we can just call active, models dot boolean field. And for this boolean flag, we can just set a default of true. Of course, in a real-world scenario, such boolean flags are used to tell, for example, our logic if a manufacturer should be listed or not in a list of manufacturer, for example. We can now define the understring self that can just return self.name. Let's now define our second model, the product model, models.model. And first of all, let's link it to the manufacturer model. So manufacturer, like so. And I'm going to use, of course, a foreign key. So models.foreign key. So link to the manufacturer model. Then we need to set on delete models dot cascade, and then related name, and we can set products. Then let's add a name for our product, so name, and in fact we can just use the same code we used above. Then let's add a description models dot text field. We can make it optional by passing blank true and null true. Then we can define photo field, so models.image field, making it optional as we did for the description. Price, we can set models dot float field, and of course every product is going to need the price. Then let's add shipping cost, and we can use a float field just as well. Then quantity, and we can define models dot positive small integer field, and we can now define the understring def understring self, and we're just going to return self name. Perfect. So we're now ready to generate the migrations for our models, and we can of course use the command manage.py make migrations, and we can now apply them by giving manage.py migrate. Perfect. Very well, we're now ready to create our views within the views.py file of our products application, of course. And as you probably remember, one of the easiest ways to create views in Django is to use the generic class-based views that are already provided by the framework. So let's import both detail view and list view from Django.views.generic.detail, import detail view, and same thing I'm going to do, as I said, for list view. So I need to change detail into list. And of course, we also need to import our models. From models, import product and manufacturer. We're also going to need to create some templates, of course, to use with our views. So I'm going to create a folder within the products app, and I'm just going to call it templates. Within this folder, I'm now going to create another folder called, of course, products. And within this folder, I'm now going to create two files, two HTML templates. So product detail.html and product list.html. I can just add some code here. So this is going to be, of course, product list, and I can do the same thing for product details. So HTML5 product detail. And let's now go back to our views.py file, because of course we actually need to write our views. So class product detail view, and of course it's going to extend detail view. So we need to define model as product, of course, and template name as products product detail.html. And we can now define also our product list view, which is going to inherit its code from list view. And so model is going to be product, and we can do something similar for the template name, but it's going to be, of course, product list.html. So let's just skip the manufacturer model for now. Let's go ahead and write the code for our HTML templates instead. So we can actually start from the title. So object.name, and I can actually copy object.name because I now want to create a couple of paragraphs to show all the different details of a specific instance of product. So product object.name, manufacturer, so manufacturer, then we're going to have quantity, then we're going to have the description, a price, so object.price, and then of course shipping cost, so shipping cost. And then maybe here we can add something like dollars or euros or another currency. Then of course we're going to need to show our image, so the specific image for a specific product. So object.photo.url, because of course photo is the name of the image field. Product photo. And for our product list template, we can of course make a for loop. So for product in object list, and we can just close it straight away. So and 4, and we can just show maybe the most important details such as product, manufacturer, and maybe price. So I'm going to copy product and manufacturer right here, and price, like so. You can maybe give a bit of indentation, even though in fact this needs to be called object, as object is the name that we're using to reference all the properties. So now that we've got our views, our templates, and our models, we can define our URL paths. So let's create a new file, urls.py, and within this file, first of all, we need to import the path function. So from Django.urls, import path. Then, of course, we need to import our views. So from views, import product detail view and product list view. So let's now define URL patterns, our list, and of course path, and maybe we can set it as the home page or the main path. Product list view dot as view with name product list, and we can do something similar for product detail view, like so, product detail. But because we want the details of a specific product, we're going to need to pass a primary key to our detail view. So I'm now going to change the path to products / integer primary key. And we now need to include this urls.py file within the urls.py file of the main project, so the main urls.py file. So let's import the include function, and we can now define a path to the, let's say, home page. And we can now include products.urls. Because we're also using media files, considering that we got an image field in our product model, we also need to tell Django that we want our development server to serve media files during the development phase. So let's import static and settings from django.conf.urls.static, import static, and from django.conf, import settings. And I can in fact move all of these right here. So if settings.debug, we can then specify that we want to add to our list of paths static settings.media URL document root settings.media root. And of course, considering that we're referencing media URL and media root, we need to define them in the settings.py file. So settings.py right here below. So media root, we can just call it uploads, and media URL, we can just set /media/. So our project is basically completed. There is one last file that we need to set up, and it's the admin.py file, which is going to allow us to create new instances of product and manufacturer from the admin panel. So from models, import product and manufacturer, and then admin.site.register product. Same thing we can do for manufacturer. So we can now close most of these files because we're not going to need them anymore. Maybe we can just leave our templates, and we can run our development server. So let's run it. And here it is. System check identified no issues. We're live at localhost on port 8000. So let's open up our browser. And here we see that we are currently in our home page. There is no content, but our Windows title speaks clearly. Let's go to /admin instead. Let's enter our super user credentials. And of course we got both manufacturers and products. So let's start by creating a new manufacturer instance. I can just call it first manufacturer, maybe location Italy. We can save the instance. So let's add some products. So manufacturer, first manufacturer, and let's add some bicycles to our product list. So city bike, and in the description field we can add a very comfortable bicycle. For the price we can maybe set $800. Shipping cost, maybe we can set it to 0, free shipping, and quantity maybe we can add something like 25. So let's choose a photo. So I'm going to choose this photograph, and I can now just click save and add another from the same manufacturer, and maybe this time we can add the racing bike. So racing bike, a very fast bicycle. So let's choose a photo, this specific racing bike, and the price tag is going to be higher, so maybe $2,500. Shipping cost, we can give it for free, so free shipping. And because this is a much more expensive bike, we can maybe just add 5 in the quantity field. So let's save. And let's go back to our home page, so view site, and here we have them, the list with our products. So let's check the details of a single product. Products/1, and here we have the details of our city bike. We can now check the details of the second product, our racing bike, and here it is. So that was it for this video. Now that our online store project is ready and we've refreshed our memory on how to create and manage a Django project, we are finally ready to extend its functionalities by creating an API in the next video. This will allow us to expose a list with all the products in our database and the details of single products using the JSON file format. And of course, this will also allow us to make a proper comparison with what we've done so far, which is using Django's templates to show all the relevant information about the products in our database. And it will also allow us to understand how powerful and useful the Django REST Framework package really is. So that was it for the video. See you in the next lesson.